Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Eric here, and today I'm pretty excited to be bringing you a review, kind of first impressions of the Sony WF-1000XM4s. I think that's all the right letters and numbers, but it's something like that. Anyway, it's their new true wireless system with their latest and greatest ANC processing unit in it. And I think it's a real winner, to be perfectly honest with you. So we're going to dive into this. I'm going to do some comparisons for you. We're going to analyze how good is the noise canceling. And we're going to talk about just how good is it overall in the audio landscape for its near $300 price point. And we'll make some comparisons to some other kind of like wired systems that would be, you know, comparatively priced or in the same ballpark anyway. So let's unbox the XM4s and let's see what you get, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about them. So I will be back with you after the unboxing. New Sony WF-1000XM4s. Let's open them up. Ooh. This is all it comes with, which is kind of cool. Just a super small, tiny little, all recyclable paper. Oh, that's a little case. That's a little case. Okay, we got booklets and stuff in here. Is there anything else? No, I don't think so. No. And then let's see. Also, you got a little tab to pull up here. And oh, yeah, that's all that comes in the box there. Tips and charging cable. Sweet. So if I can kind of pack all this stuff back up. Very nice little simple unboxing system there. Let's go ahead and look at the actual case. It's smaller than you'd expect, especially if you had the other Sony, the XM3s. They had a big case, a big case. All right, opened. I assume the orange means that they are now charging. So just for size comparison here, let's get a couple of other true wireless systems on the table to compare it with. Okay, so for comparison purposes, there's the AirPods Pro, and there's my tried and true Soundcore Liberty Neos. So as far as the AirPods, very similar profile, very similar like width and height, but the AirPods still got it on thickness for sure. Compared to the Liberty Neo, pretty similar thickness, but this one is obviously longer as far as that goes. But yeah, nice, simple little case. One thing to mention is I did do a review of these two not too long ago. So if you want to kind of hear a comparison of those before you hear me talk about the new Sonys in context against these guys, you know, look for that video somewhere up here. Okay, so now that we've got them unboxed and we've seen them, let's talk about using the XM4s. And we're gonna do this in kind of several parts here. I'm just gonna give you kind of the overall impressions of like comfort and stuff here at first. Then we'll jump into an ANC test, and then we'll come back at the end of all that and we'll talk like sound quality compared to kind of some other things. Okay, so first thing you're gonna notice, let's pull the buds out actually from the case. We've looked at the case size, let's look at the actual size of the units. And I'm just going to compare here with the AirPods Pro, just because I think people are pretty familiar with those and kind of their size and all that. So basically this is what you're looking at here, right? So obviously the Sonys are a little bit chunkier. They don't have, you know, the little, when you're wearing them, they don't have the little thing that comes down, you know, out of your ear, kind of towards your mouth. So that's kind of the general size of the Sonys. These are significantly smaller than the previous generation of the XM3. So if that's something that you're concerned about, or that you didn't like about Sony's previous true wireless offering, these are much better. These are much better in that regard. Here we go. Okay, so when you put them in your ears, you can kind of see this is what that looks like. And, you know, they're not too bad. I mean, they stick out maybe, they're not the smallest true wireless. Let's put that out there for sure. They're not the true wireless. But again, you got to remember, these have a lot of technology packed into them with the ANC. So they need that space to fit all the good stuff in there, all right? What I would say about the comfort is a couple of things. Number one, you see that I have already changed the tips on these. I tried using them with their stock tips. I usually use medium-sized tips, okay? And I was using them with their stock. It's kind of like a hybrid foam silicone type material. I'm just not a big fan of foam tips in general. So I swapped out for spin fits, and I'll link to the ones that I've got below. But I get a much better fit and feel with those on these, and it's just simpler and easier, and it's just easier to get a better seal for me. Of course, your mileage may vary with the tips, and maybe the stock ones will fit you great. They're not a poor quality tip by any means. I like the spin fits, so that's what I use when I can on any IEM, really. But so going back, the size, it fits. It contours to your ear, or to my ear, maybe not to your ear. It contours to my ear fairly well. There is, I would say, I do develop kind of a hot spot, like right around this spot of my ear after about an hour of listening. So the comfort, I would say, is okay. Would I want to wear these all day long for 8 hours? No, I definitely wouldn't. And I even used them quite a bit a couple of weeks ago when I was doing Zoom meetings all day long on my computer. And after a couple of hours of using the XM4s, I would just go ahead and switch to something else, just to relieve that a little bit. So not great in the comfort category, but not unbearable as well. And also to note, I do feel like that's improved since I started using the spin fits on them. Yeah, overall build quality is you know, very good, I would say, on these. I mean, they're plastic, they're fairly lightweight. I think they look pretty decent. I would say that like all the functionality works pretty well on them. So currently my setup, and you can kind of tweak this in the app a little bit, which we can talk about here in just a moment, but currently my setup is tap right ear once to pause, 2 taps to skip track, and then you press and hold to kind of like put it into a pause ANC mode, so you can just like talk to somebody real fast, and that works on either ear. This side is tap to switch from ANC to ambient noise, and all that works really well, better than the other Sonys that I've tried. Like, I've been much more accurate with these, and the taps are very precise, and you instantly get like a little boop, like feedback noise when you do it, and that's all worked really well for me, to be perfectly honest. And I don't, you know, I don't like the tapping, and I wish I had something a little more tactile personally, but I can understand for this situation why, you know, they just gone with a touch system. Okay, so probably one of the other things that you're gonna want to know about the XM4 here is how the microphones sound, and this is them, right? So not great is the short answer, and but I mean, I think when you compare them to other wireless systems, it's going to be comparable. You know, it functions, like I said, I use these for Zoom calls a whole bunch in the last couple of weeks, and you know, it was fine. People could hear me, but it doesn't sound good. It can't compare to the built-in microphone of even like your phone or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Don't have super high expectations for voice calling and microphone pickup on this true wireless system. So real quick here, I just wanted to touch base on one other feature. This guy, if I can get it angled here right, it does have a USB-C for charging, but it also has wireless charging. However, I'm having some difficulty getting it to work consistently. So you can see if I put it on my little iPhone charger here, dead center, it does not start charging. Whereas if I move it around slightly and kind of get it on like the edge of this, oh, there we go, got it. Okay, so there is wireless charging, however, it's pretty finicky, and I actually have another Anchor charging pad, and I cannot get it to work at all on this one. So wireless charging's there, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect. So that's something to know. So that's kind of the general overview of the XM4 and my current experience, like using it just as far as like how it feels and build quality and things like that. But let's get into kind of the main feature, which is active noise canceling. And then again, after these tests, we'll come back and talk about sound quality and do a couple of comparisons in that regard. So if you want to skip ahead, I'll put on the screen here when you should about jump to get to that point. Otherwise, let's jump into the active noise canceling test. Alright, so for my first noise canceling test here with these new Sony 1000XM4 earbuds, I'm just going to do like a driving test here. So I live in rural Iowa, and I drive on 2-lane highways, and I drive old vehicles, old vans. You're probably getting a lot of that noise that's involved in this right now. So even, you know, windows up and stuff, I got the AC cranking, but you can just hear the sound deadening in my vehicle isn't very good. So it's really noisy, is what it comes down to. So I think this is a good baseline test for like how well the noise canceling works. So I'm gonna do a couple of comparisons here. So number one, I'm gonna compare it with my go-to Liberty Neo no active noise canceling earbuds. But they do a pretty good job of isolation, like sound isolation. Then we'll try the XM3s, the Sony over-ears, and then we'll see how the new XM4 earbuds compare to that. So let me pop in those Liberty Neos, and I'll give you kind of my impressions of those. Okay, so I've got the Liberty Neos in, and you know, they don't do too bad. Like, honestly, I can still pretty much hear everything. It's just dampened a little bit. I can still hear the AC running. I can still hear the tire noise on the road and things like that, but it's all much more manageable and subdued. And you know, if I'm playing podcast or music or something through these in this situation, it's clear. You know, it's listenable. You know, I can hear everything just fine, and it certainly takes the focus off the road noise. But let's see how active noise canceling, like what that does in this situation. So I'm going to switch to the Sony over-ears here fast. Alright, as you can see, I've got the Sony over-ears on. These are the XM3s, not the XM4s. But it's my understanding that the noise canceling is about the same level between these two models. You know, it is better than the Liberty Neo earbuds. Again, these are active, those are not. I can still hear, I don't know, a little bit, I would say. Maybe more of like kind of a whooshing noise as opposed to like the rumble and the hum and like the actual function of like the AC and stuff. It's maybe there, just a little bit, that little clicking if you hear that, but it's all very, very, very quiet. Once I get something playing on these in this situation, you know, none of these other noises make any difference at all. So the noise canceling on these Sony over-ears, it's great, really good. I'm just curious to see if the XM4 earbuds do as well, so we will try those now. Okay, got the XM4 earbuds in, and wow. Gosh, it's amazing. It's incredible. I think the noise canceling in this situation is actually better than the over-ear XM3s. Like, it is amazing. I'd say I can still slightly hear the air conditioner running, but I hear almost no road noise. And, you know, if I like play something over these, like it's just totally like everything else is just totally blocked out. Like really, really just incredible noise canceling on these in this circumstance. We're gonna go ahead and take it up a notch, and we're gonna see what happens when I roll the windows down, how these perform. Now with the XM3s, they do noise cancel, but I still get like a little bit of like wind noise that I think maybe the microphones are picking up or something like that, and I'm not quite sure exactly why that happens, but it does happen. So again, I want to try it with these guys here. I just got to get a corner turned, and then I'll roll the windows down, and we'll see what that sounds like. So just I'll be back with you here in just a second. Okay, so back, windows are down, and these are the same as the XM3s, so the noise is canceled, and I don't really hear much noise per se, but the wind hitting the outside microphones does register, and I do hear that in these, and that's the same way it works on the XM3s. So for the windows down stuff, I actually think I prefer the soundboard limiting Neos because they are solid isolation, and I don't get any wind noise like I'm getting right now. But yeah, all in all, for a first test of noise canceling, like the XM4's pass with flying colors, really amazing, really amazing stuff. All right, just chilling on the patio out here. And this is my second idea for a noise canceling test, which is the air conditioner, as I'm sure you can hear, is running over in the background. So we'll run through the same order. We'll do the Liberty Neo, the XM3s, and then the XM4 earbuds, and we'll see how they do with the air conditioner. So here we go. Alright, we've got the XM3s in. I can still hear the air conditioner. I don't have anything playing in here. But again, it's acceptable. Like, everything else is blocked. There's nothing gnawing at my attention. So, there's no ANC in these, but it still does a good job of like isolating and just blocking things out. So, pretty decent, honestly. A decent solution. Okay, let's jump to the over-ears, the XM3s, and see what happens. Alright, XM3s are on, and the noise is reduced. Like, it definitely is. I can still hear the high frequencies from the air conditioner over here. So I still feel kind of like the rattle of it. I don't hear like the bass of the fan and the air moving and things like that. Like, that's blocked really well. So quieter than the Liberty Neos. Do I think it's huge for the experience? No.
I can still hear the air conditioning, but it's very little. If I were to play something on through these, then I mean it would be non-existent basically. So let's see how the XM4 earbuds do. Okay, have the XM4 earbuds in now, and kind of similar to the car test that we did earlier. I think they're better. I mean, the noise canceling here is, I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, again, if you haven't ever heard like a decent set of noise canceling headphones, like, you're gonna be shocked if you put these in. It is amazing what they block out. And again, can I hear the air conditioner over there? Yeah, I know it exists over there, but it is so negligible. And these do a better job at getting those high frequencies than the XM3 over ears do. So it's, again, the sound around me is so negligible that as soon as I turn something on these, it's gonna be fully blocked. So very impressed with the ANC on these little earbuds. They are phenomenal in that regard. Okay, so the final test, the final noise canceling test that I want to do with these new Sony XM4 earbuds is mowing. This is one of my typical use cases. Normally I just use my Soundcore Liberty Neos, like I've talked about for the other things. Again, not active noise canceling, but they muffle it enough to protect my hearing, because mowers get pretty loud. We'll do a little decibel meter here test in just a second, just to show how loud they are. But the main annoyance with using these is that I then have to turn the volume up on whatever I'm listening to hear it clearly, louder than my normal listening levels, which admittedly aren't that high. I usually listen at about like 60-70 decibels, something around there, so pretty low. But it's important to know that once you get over 80 decibels, if you do that for sustained periods, like 2 hours or more, and I'll link in the description to like the CDC guidance on this, but you can start to damage your hearing. So kind of defeats the purpose to use earbuds to cancel the mower sound if you have to turn up your music to dangerous levels. So let's see how loud the mower is, and then I'll put in the new Sony earbuds and I'll tell you about that experience. Okay, so my mower here, which is a fairly new mower and in good running condition, you can see it's about like 95 decibels. Your hearing damage can occur after less than an hour, like about 50 minutes at that level. So it's important to use something, all right? So it's important to use something. So let's put in the XM4 earbuds here, and we'll see how they do, I guess. We'll see how they do. So instantly, one thing that I notice is that I can no longer hear the other mowers in the other yards that are taking place right now. So that's completely gone. Let's go ahead and fire up the mower. I'll do a couple of passes. I'll come back and I'll tell you how they work in that regard. Okay, so the verdict is just like in the other noise canceling test, it's amazing. Like, any lower frequencies are completely eliminated with the mower. I do still hear kind of the buzzing of the engine working, but it's very, very quiet, to the point where I can still listen to videos, podcasts, music at my normal listening levels, and it's still clear. So that right there, I think, is a big win for these noise canceling earbuds. And the fact that they're also water resistant at this point means you don't have to stress about having them out here and sweating on them and things like that. So yeah, big win for the Sonys in this regard.
So you can see from my reactions in each of those tests that I do feel like the XM4s are just excellent in active noise canceling. Now, I haven't tried any of the Bose things, any of the Bose headphones or earbuds or any of that stuff, so I can't compare to those directly, but I would assume that these Sonys are about as good as it gets when it comes to active noise canceling. I know I didn't do comparisons against the AirPods Pro, but just rest assured that the ANC in the Sonys far exceeds what I experienced with the AirPods Pro. That being said, let's jump in and talk about sound quality. And this is what really surprised me with the Sonys here. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an objectivist when it comes to sound quality. I'm all about, what makes you happy, what gets you into the music, what gets you enjoying your music and listening to it, I guess as much as possible is what it comes down to. And in this regard, I feel like the XM4s are excellent. Are they the greatest sound quality and detailed, most audiophile listening experience you're going to achieve? No, of course not. You're looking at a $300 IEM true wireless system, and you could spend, Sennheiser just released their flagship IEM, which is like $900, right? And you could spend, there's $3,000-$4,000 IEMs. There's all sorts of things that I'm sure technically outclass the XM4s, but here's what it comes down to for me. When I'm listening to the XM4s, it has an adequate enough sound quality that you can tweak within the app, and we'll talk about my settings in the app here in a second, to the point where I think this is an excellent sounding headphone IEM. I think it's the best I've heard from the Sonys that I've tried. I haven't tried any of their flagship like Z1Rs and things like that. But from the XM3s, both the in-ear and over-ear models, which I had and used for quite a while, I think these surpass them. Certainly their stock tuning is much, much, much closer to neutral, whereas those other ones were like the bass was just crazy blown out. So let me show you real quick what my EQ settings are, and I'm going to post that just kind of on the screen here. So really I didn't change a whole lot, surprisingly, because I had massively tweaked the other headphones, and especially the true bass feature, which is kind of like Sony's like bass boost. I had just cranked almost all the way down on those other two headphones from Sony that I use. But for these, I only drop it down to -3. And then you can see I put in a couple other dB boost here and there just to kind of richen the mid-range a little bit, which is my preference. But outside of that, I'm leaving it pretty much alone. And even in that regard, like, I just get into the music when I'm listening to the XM4. So as far as just like a clean sound experience, right? When you block out everything else, like, and put the XM4s on and you're in ANC mode, you are just in like music land, right? Like, you just have music playing in your head, and that's what I think about. It's easy for me. The XM4s make it really, really easy for me to just kick back and enjoy my music regardless of the setting I'm in. And that is a pretty phenomenal thing. And especially considering, when I'm sitting at my desk here, I'm using, these big amps and DACs, and I'm using gigantic headphones and all that stuff. And I get there, right? Like, I get into the music in that regard, and specifically with the LCD2 pre-phaser I do, which review to that up here. But with the XM4s, I can do that too, and I can do it quickly because of the ANC, and I can do it anywhere without any sort of wires attached. So I think if you're not, I figure there's two types of people watching this video. One, you're just kind of your typical consumer that's looking for a good ANC true wireless system, and you want to know, should you get these or should you get like the AirPods Pro, right? My preference is certainly with the XM4s. And if you're that type of person, go ahead, stop, you can leave. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Get the XM4s, you'll be happy. Okay, now if you're an audiophile person, which is probably more the people that gravitate towards this channel here and are watching, let's do kind of some comparison. Let's dig into the sound a little bit more here, and we can talk a little bit more detailed about what you're getting with the sound and why I still think it's pretty darn good, even though I've got several things on hand to compare it to. So I haven't done a ton of listening with IEMs yet, but I've done quite a bit with the Moondrop Star Fields, which are right here, which I'll do a full review of these, you know, here in the near future. Beautiful IEMs, excellent build quality. I really like them, okay? But again, this video isn't about the Moondrops, but let's do a little bit of comparison with those. I also have the Audio Legacy 3s, and I got a handful of other wired IEMs that I'm going to be reviewing here on the channel over the next couple of months. But for today's purposes, let's just mainly stick to the Star Fields just to keep it simple, I guess. So what another system that I really like here is, you know, using the BTR5. I just did a review of that. You know, you can find that up here. And this is like a little Bluetooth DAC amp, right? So basically you're Bluetoothing your music to this little guy. Sorry, it's super smudgy, but you're Bluetoothing your music to this little guy, so you can then wirelessly, kind of, right? I mean, you have your headphone wire going to this into your IEM setup. Now, so let's just do a quick comparison, right, of size when we're looking at these guys. So you can see the Starfields are much, much more compact. They're made of metal. So the build quality on the Starfields is phenomenal. You know, much better than what you're getting with the Sonys, I would say. Not that the Sonys are bad, but they're plastic, and the Starfields are metal, and so they feel super nice. Plus they have that really awesome paint job on them that probably the camera isn't doing justice for, okay? When you put them in your ears, right, here's the Sonys stick out, right, very noticeable. The Starfields, I took the spin fits off of those, so you know I'm not having a tip on it, but the Starfields, you know, when you put them in, look how small and compact that is. I mean, they're like barely noticeable, right? They're in your ear. You don't even hardly notice them that they're in there. So the Starfields are very light, very quick and easy to get in your ears, and they're very comfortable, much more comfortable than the Sony. So that's just one thing to keep in mind here. However, you've got the trade-off of now you're dealing with the wire and you're clipping the BTR5 somewhere, and so at that point, it's a convenience factor, right? Do you want a bulkier IEM in your ear without any wires? Or do you want a more comfortable, lightweight IEM in your ear, but you've got a wire that's either leading to like your phone or some sort of a external player like my BTR5 here? So there's a big trade-off there. And obviously for convenience purposes, the XM4s are going to win there. But really what we want to know is the sound, right? How is the sound different? I think the XM4s do an excellent job with macro dynamics. They have good punch to them. There's a lot of clarity to it. I think the imaging is rather good. That's probably what surprised me more than anything else, and I think that's really what sells the experience more than anything else, is just it's pretty much in your head, but it's like a sphere inside of your head. So it does a really good job of producing sound all the way around, and this is without like 360 spatial audio. I don't mess with that stuff usually. So it has good imaging, it has decent separation. The soundstage is small, but I would say it's well articulated. So what I think the Sony is really missing, and where the Starfields pull ahead, and this is, you know, I like I said, I haven't listened to that many IEMs, but I would assume this is where, you know, a wired IEM is going to come into play, where it's going to surpass the Sony. Like I said, the Sonys are pretty good all around. You know, if you're not being too critical, if you're not looking for too much nuance, too much detail, they're good. Macro, they're good. Spatially, I think they're good, although not super large. But I think once you switch to, you know, maybe one of the more well-regarded IEMs, and like wired IEMs, and even in ones that are maybe quite a bit cheaper than the XM4s, you're going to get better micro details. You're probably going to get more space. You're going to get, you're just going to get more nuance to your music. Now, as somebody who considers themselves like an audiophile or someone like that, that might immediately think that you are going to want to go that route instead. But let me just say, for me personally, the That's not how I see it. Like, I spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks kind of going back and forth between these two setups, so the XM4s and the Moondrop Starfield with the BTR5. And I think I can definitively say that I'm gonna like reach for the XM4s just for the convenience. I like the sound, and just because of that ANC is so good that I can put these on and I can just get into the music instantly. So the sound quality is good enough that I don't care, right? I get into it, I'm enjoying it, and it's simple. And in a world of audiophile complexity where I've got multiple DACs and amps and headphones and all this stuff, and we're paying close attention to what kind of sources we're using and are we streaming lossless and all this stuff, the XM4s just make it easy, right? If you have a main listening rig like at your desk like me, and you're just looking for something else that you can just use when you have to like do things and you can't be at your desk and just be a super critical listener all the time, or if you just want to have something that you can use around the house, like the XM4s are excellent. And I don't think that we should sell them short just because they're not the pinnacle of audio quality, because I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're writing them off just because they're maybe not as nuanced as like a cheaper wired version. And, you know, think about it too. Like, unless you're using it straight out of your phone, if you're going to buy some sort of an external player or something to use with wired IEMs, like the BTR5 and the Moondrop Starfield together, brand new, would be in like the $230, $240-ish range. And the XM4s were just on sale like Prime Day for $250. And if you wait a little while here for used ones to be available and stuff like that, like, you're going to be able to buy them for $250 or less. Easy. And at that point, you're reaching a level of ANC that can't really be beat, I don't think, at this point in time. You're getting acceptable sound quality, and you're getting a very convenient experience that can get you into the music very quickly, very easily, anywhere you want to be. And because of that, I really like the XM4s, and I'm going to keep them, and they're probably going to be my go-to IEM portable solution, to be honest with you. We'll see if any of the wired IEMs I have on hand that I'll be trying out in the near future can dislodge them from that position, because I am willing to sacrifice some convenience for sound quality. But right now, the XM4s make me happy, and I enjoy them. And I have a hard time, honestly, believing that you wouldn't enjoy them either if you've stuck around this long to watch this video and you care about sound quality and you care about all this stuff. I think you should honestly give these a shot. Don't write them off as just Sony consumer, no good. Don't write them off. You're doing yourself a disservice if you do that, in my opinion. I think they're worth giving them a shot and putting them up against, you know, something that you've already got on hand, and do a little comparison and see how easily do you get in the music with the XM4s versus how easily do you get in the music with your other setup when you're on the go and trying to do things. And I think you might be pleasantly surprised. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Perhaps a little long-winded, but I just feel the need to make the case for the simple, convenient XM4 in a very complex, overanalyzed audiophile world, right? So sometimes, you know, simplicity can be a wonderful thing. And in the XM4's case, I think that that's the big selling point. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me. I know this was a little long. I appreciate it. If you want to, you know, comment your experience on the XM4, you know, certainly do that down below. I will, like I said, I'll have videos coming out here in the near future with more IEMs and other headphone stuff and all that good stuff coming up. So consider subscribing to the channel if you're into that, and I will see you in the next one.